Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Magically Cruising, the cruise podcast where we share our personal cruise tips and reviews to help you make the most out of your next sailing. My name's Kira, and I'm an independent travel agent specializing in all things cruise, Disney, and North America, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host.
Hi, my name's Sarah, and I write over at Cruising with Kids, which is a blog and also an MSN newsfeed and Mini Travellers.
And today, Sarah, we're going to talk about somewhere you've not long come back from. By the time this episode gets out, it would have been a while, but you've not long come back from your trip. We obviously talked about your cruise with Royal Caribbean, but you paired that as well with a stay at Universal Orlando as well, didn't you? So today,
Yes,
we thought we'd talk all about Universal Orlando. Now, we've touched upon kind of Central Florida. We've talked about Universal before, but we thought we'd give a bit more of a review of kind of what you got up to, where you stayed and how that benefited your trip to Universal, but then also how you paired that with a Royal Caribbean cruise as well, but then also talk about the future of Universal, because it's something really exciting on the horizon for Universal as well.
Yeah, there is. So we stayed for 6 nights, and we went with friends that had never been to Florida before, and they wanted to do the whole Disney thing. We're looking at staying on site at Disney, but we've done that several times, and I just didn't want to. I wanted to stay at Universal. So we booked the Sapphire Falls Hotel, which we couldn't decide which one because they wanted Adventura, I wanted Sapphire Falls. So we ended up staying next door. So we got to see both hotels.
Yeah.
So you stay where you want, we'll stay where we want. And it worked really well.
Yeah.
And because they were so close together, it was just brilliant. And we did do Disney, but obviously the focus was doing Universal. It's a difficult one because obviously cruise and stay. So we had a week's cruise, we had 6 nights in Universal. It's never enough. But then no matter how, we've been for 2 weeks and it's not been enough. For a first timer, you've got to do longer.
Yeah.
But for us, we were able to take it a bit slower. Well, saying that, we still managed to do all of the parks in 5 days, which was a killer. But go on.
Well, no, this is the thing, because we have this debate in our household all the time as well, because we've got the Disney Vacation Club, so we get to go to Disney World a week every year or every 2 years for 2 weeks. And I look greedy, and I keep saying, like, but I want to go longer. I want more time. I want to go more, because there is just so much to do, type of thing. When you break in, obviously, Universal, they have now their 2 theme parks and a water park. Disney, 4 theme parks, 2 water parks. That's before you look beyond those attractions. And, you know, you look at the kind of other resort areas, you've got all the other things to do. Then if we're big cruise fans like us as well, and you kind of want to take on a cruise as well, there's just so much to do. But I think more than anything, that explains why so many people go back time and time again and do an Orlando or Florida break, because even then when you explore beyond the Orlando area and you go off to Key West, you go off to Fort Lauderdale, you go over to Tampa, you know, you go up to the Panhandle, there's so much to do in kind of the Florida state that, you know, there's so much. And this is the thing, we've talked about this area, we've talked about Florida so much, which is why we thought we'd specifically talk about kind of a Universal Orlando break, because it is becoming more and more popular now. I get asked more than ever for people who want to stay on Universal more than those that want to stay on Disney. And I'm a Disney, you know, I named the company Magical Traveler. It's my specialty, but it is becoming a bigger trend because Universal are offering better value for money on paper than when you stay at a Disney break.
Oh, much better. I mean, our hotel at Sapphire Falls, I think for 6 nights, we only paid £300 for it because we had loads of Tesco vouchers. So we swapped them for that. So we didn't book a package. And that was, we'd saved loads.
Yeah.
But, 2 teenagers, you spend a fortune on shopping. But, yeah. But it cost £900 for 6 nights, which you just wouldn't have got a Disney hotel for that night, that price. No. And it's in the middle. It's one of the intermediates, so you don't get the express pass. But we did have the express pass. But you have the boat over to Universal, which for me was, and the resort is phenomenal. I think it's nicer than, I think it's on level with Saratoga Springs, and yet it's meant to be below. I think that in Disney, we once went to All Stars Resort, and I stayed one night and checked out. Just
Really?
Yeah, went with Virgin. They were really good, but you could hear the kid in the room screaming, people shouting. They were banging on your window as you went past. It weren't for us. So it's meant to be on the level of what's the French one, Port Orleans, but it's not. It's higher.
It's meant to be a moderate, isn't it? Yeah.
The hotel is stunning. Just everything about it was amazing. So I would never not book Universal again if I went to Florida.
So, for those who maybe have never been to the Orlando Universal Resort, then can you just explain a little bit then about kind of logistically how it works? Is it a big bubble like Walt Disney World? So, when you get into Walt Disney World, you've obviously got Disney buses, you've got Disney transport. You can easily get around via Disney transport, but obviously it's very spread out. Walt Disney World, you can't walk between the different theme parks. For those who've never been to Universal Orlando, can you explain kind of what a typical day may look like about getting up from an on-site resort and getting around to and from the parks? How easy is it to do?
It's super easy. I mean, it's going to change because when the new park opens, is it 2 miles away, Epic Universe?
It's a bit
So
further away.
it will change, but there's still, you've got everything you've got at Disney. So every hotel's got the buses. I mean, our hotel had the buses, but we never used them. So what happens is in Universal, the buses take you to the outside of Universal, don't they? So you've got to go through the car park, which is a bit of a trek. So, but when you're staying on one of the hotels with the water system, so that's Sapphire Falls, Hard Rock, Portofino. There's another one,
There's
isn't there?
the Asian themed one as well, in the Pacific Royal, is it?
Royal Pacific. So all of those are on the water system. So if you're on one of those hotels, it takes you straight into City Walk. It's so easy. So you just
Yeah.
wouldn't need to use the buses, but all of the other hotels have the buses. Great
Yeah.
tip. If you're in an Adventura hotel, and I never shared this before we went because I didn't want anyone to know. But,
I'm like that now. I don't share my tips because I want them to stay hidden tips for me. Like, was it Finn? You can find out about them, but until I go, I ain't telling no one.
But if you're at Adventura Hotel, I mean, it's 30 seconds from their lobby to the lobby of Sapphire Falls. So our friends used to walk over to our hotel and then we'd get the water bus together. And do you know what? Getting back at night, we walked because they were busier. And you just walk around the water. I wouldn't have done it in the dark, my alligator fear, just in case. But in the day, it was fine. You could walk round, and there's a lot of buses. They're going all the time. I mean, there was only one occasion in 6 days where we just decided to walk because we thought that's too, the queue's too big, but it does move.
Yeah.
So getting about is super easy. It's just there's no issue at all. And then to get to Disney from Universal, this is what we really thought about because Chris drives to Manchester every day. He doesn't want to drive. And I am not driving on the wrong side of the road. I'll forget. So we just got Ubers and it was $15 to Disney from Universal. And that was for 50. Sometimes it was 30 if we got the XL. And that was 2 families in. So one would get it in the morning.
How many people is that though in XL? So $30 for how many people?
8.
Because that's something that was a big group of you, wasn't there? There was 8 of you, so $30 for 8.
Oh no, there were 6. There was 6, but we could have. But they did have seats in the back that we 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. You could have fit 7 in the XL. So, but there were 6 of us, so it was comfortable.
Yeah.
So 2 families, and it might have been $20 each way. So we got one way, they got the way back. It was cheaper to do that than pay the Disney parking.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that is Disney parking. I'm pretty sure it's about $25, $30 now a day.
$25 a day, yeah. And then you got obviously you hire your car and all that grief. Well, let somebody else worry about that. And do you know what? We never once struggled getting an Uber because when you come out of Disney, you just go to if you go to the information centre when you come out of Magic Kingdom, get out a bit, Uber 3 minutes. We never struggled.
Yeah.
So actually staying on Universal is easier than people think, and you can still do everything else by Uber.
You know what? We actually, when we stay Walt Disney World on Vacation Club, and it's now changed, you now get free parking if you stay in a Disney hotel. But even when we had a car, we would still Uber around the resort sometimes. So if it was kind of like we were waiting a long time, or there are some Disney transportation routes, if you're going from certain point to point, because I won't bore you with it, but it's just like you can't get it from certain hotels straight to a theme park. It's designed not to work that way. You have to go around the loops. So we would Uber sometimes as well, even though we had a car or we were using Disney transport, because it would cost like $10, $15 to get us where we wanted to, and it saved us so much time. So it is my top tip now as well, with the kind of the rising cost of car hire in the Orlando area, is just consider the possibilities. If you're not going to be doing a lot of commuting, just get an Uber instead.
And the thing is as well, like, I mean, all right, Epcot's all the parks now serve alcohol. Now, I can't have one wine with lunch and go on a ride. I couldn't have 2 rides and cope with the heat and the ride. It's just funny.
Yeah.
And it's not about drinking, is it, Disney? It's just, it's far from it. But if you want a glass of wine with your lunch, then you can't have a car with you anyway. So, and we were coming out the parks and having like an early dinner and having a meal and having a few wines. because you're in bed by 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So,
It's funny you say that because I don't really go to Disney and get drunk. Like, oh, I'm
no,
Universal when we go to Universal, even though we've never had a car or like we can use the Disney transport. Either like we do it more after the parks. It's really weird. I'm not a big fan of, and I don't think it's
yeah,
because of
no,
motion sickness or things like that. For me, I'm not paying all that money to get drunk at a theme park. I do that in a bar or I do that in a hotel lobby type of thing. I don't know. Saying that, I was once incredibly drunk leaving Ogre's Cantina in Galaxy's Edge in Star Wars Land. I was
oh,
very drunk because I think I had like 6 cocktails, enjoyed the atmosphere like crazy, and we were egging other people on to try the cocktails, and I was very drunk after that. And I don't remember getting back to a hotel room that night. But that was the end of the day. Like, we booked that purposely, so it was like the last hour of the park type of thing. So we knew we
yeah.
were ending our day in Ogre's Cantina. I don't know. It's a funny one. Each to their own. Like some people, I'm not. We all know for the podcast, partial to a drink or 10, but not in a theme park for some reason.
Yeah, it didn't. It just for me. I mean, when we went to Epcot, actually, it was boiling, and that was the plan at Epcot. Not to have loads to drink, but to try all the lovely cocktails.
Yeah.
And we had, I think we had 2. It was too hot. We just didn't want to do it. And then you
Yeah.
can't enjoy everything and walk around because you're too hot because you've had a glass of wine. Then it just takes your whole body
Yeah.
temperature down, doesn't it, or up? So yeah, we didn't. But then after we'd get somewhere, have a meal, and have a few glasses of wine. But again, still not loads because we just
Yeah.
it was boiling. I wouldn't go at that time of year again. It was boiling.
Yeah, when did you? It was Mayish, wasn't it? You went because I was on
Yeah,
one line on
end of
Virgin
May.
when you were on. Yeah,
Yeah, end of May,
yeah,
beginning of June. So we usually go Easter or September, which September's a bit of a risk, or August. But it was the hottest I've ever experienced. It was really
yeah.
hot. It was amazing. Hence why I've got the water ride behind me on the video because we did it twice because we were so hot. You literally got up and dried.
Let's talk about Dudley's do rides then, or the village is Popeyes, isn't it? Popeyes boat rides behind you. You've got because we tend to go September, October time, and it tends to be when they're doing either a refurbishment on Popeyes or it's getting turned into a Halloween maze. Like every time I've gone, it's always closed, but I have been on it back in the day. But can you just express to people who maybe haven't been on Popeyes how wet you actually get
Well,
on Popeyes?
well, I took what they called ponchos, and they
Yeah.
were brilliant because they were like had things at the, and everybody was laughing. But I thought, I don't care, I'm wearing it. We'd already got soaked on Jurassic Park because they put us at the front. You go on your feet. I was like, nice and further back, right on the front. So we'd already got soaked on that anyway. But this was later in the day, and when we went round to do it, so my goddaughter's autistic, and all she wanted to do was Dudley Do Rights and
Yeah.
the barges, and honest. So we got to the front, and she's saying to him, "Will I get wet? Will I get wet?" And the bloke said, "Let's put it this way. In all the years I've worked on it he worked there for years. I've only ever seen one person get off dry."
Yeah, honestly, I used to make a joke about it. It would be you would be drier if you got in and swam. Like you would
Yeah.
actually come out probably drier if you just swam in it because guaranteed you are going to get absolutely drenched. It's impossible to come off it and not be drenched.
Well, we got stuck at one stage, and our friend was under one of the fountains, and he was stuck under it. Probably only a minute, but it felt a lot longer. But no, it is brilliant. I mean, they're shutting it down, aren't they? Is that the rumor?
I couldn't tell you. Universal. So this is interesting. So because Universal historically are very secretive. Like when they were actually building VelociCoaster, we knew it was VelociCoaster. We knew it was a Jurassic Park roller coaster. They were like, "What? Well, there's no roller coaster being built." And they had giant cranes putting in like roller coaster. They were like, "There's no roller coaster coming. I don't know what you're on about." And then literally like a few months before they announced it, Universal have the opposite strategy of Disney. Disney will announce in 15 years, we may or may not possibly, maybe occasionally think about building an attraction, maybe possibly in that part of the land. Here's some artwork of what that may or may not look like. In Universal, total opposite. They're like, there is no roller coaster here. Look away. Very different. So we won't know, to be honest, if Universal are thinking of anything.
VelociCoaster is, oh my God. So, I mean, one of my favourite rides is Jurassic Park. The drop one. I just absolutely love it. I actually feel scared in it. You know, when you're going up the thing and you're going up towards the top and the T-Rex comes out, because I feel like there could be a Velociraptor out. There's not going to be, is there? But I just feel, and I'll tell you what it is. We once went on it and we were the only people on it. And I think it was so scary, but I love it. And when we did it, my friend doesn't do drops, so we was like, oh, it's just a bit of a drop at the end.
It's just a small drop. Which, depending on which way around the park you walk, so if you come up and you go past kind of like Zeus Landing and up that way past Harry Potter, which is now what most people do, you don't see the drop. So you have no expectation. And it's like, Jurassic River Adventure. You think it's going to be this nice riverboat ride through Jurassic. No, terrifying drop in the dark.
What else was it we got her on? And she didn't see. I don't know how she didn't really notice Kilimanjaro. I mean, how we got her on? Not Kilimanjaro. Animal
Dr.
Kingdom.
Doom. Oh,
no.
Expedition Everest.
Yeah, I've got her on that. That was it. Then she was done. But Jurassic VelociCoaster. I've never been on anything like it in my life. I mean, I only went on it once. It's insane. It's amazing. It's insane. But you can see why they take people's phones off them.
Yeah,
it is. You have to put it in lockers, don't you? And I mean, Joe went on it 3 times. I don't know how he could walk. I had to have a little sit down after.
I'm so envious. Like, I went last in 2022, I think it was the December of, and very fortunate, was invited by Royal Caribbean to go try what did I do? Wonder of the Seas for 2 nights. And they took us to Universal for the day. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get to go Universal. It's going to be amazing. And they were like, here's your ticket to Universal Studios. I was like, oh, great. It's a whole new roller coaster over there that I've not been on. Can I go in that park? So I kind of I didn't even get to see it because you can't see it from outside the park, but I got to go to the park next door to where VelociCoaster was. Had a lovely day. They gave us express pass. Had a great time. I love Universal Studios as well. But knowing that both Hagrid's magical creature coaster ride journey adventure through the woods, I don't know what, he's got a ridiculous name. But to have the new magical creatures bike ride with Hagrid's and then to have VelociCoaster next door, that teased me. I was so close to paying for the upgrade ticket to the 2 parks just so I could go ride them.
I would have. I mean,
I was tempted.
We did the one ride we didn't get on because we did everything. I mean, that was a good time about the time of year it wasn't busy, and there was a lot of schools, but that weren't a problem. And we did everything apart from we didn't do Hagrid. Our friends did, but when we got there and the queue was that big, because even with the express pass, you've still got everybody runs to Hagrid to do it. And I just thought, you know what? There's other stuff we can go and get in the queue for. So I think we did VelociCoaster. So I think by the time we got to VelociCoaster, it was open because they only open certain things, don't they?
Well, apparently, so this is a nerd thing, and like rumors, and again, we talk about Universal rumors, but apparently there's a problem with Hagrid's at the moment in the maintenance system, so it can't run at full capacity until around about 11 o'clock in the day because of the way the maintenance is done. The maintenance bay isn't big enough for all the different train cars. So apparently somebody's found permits, and this is how I find out all these rumors. Somebody's found permits that Universal are building an extra maintenance bay behind Hagrid's so they can actually maintain all of the cars overnight so they can then run bang on 8, 9 o'clock in the morning when the park opens. They can run at full capacity rather than running 3 trains and then launching the extra 2 trains at 11 o'clock. Nerd fact of the day, like that's the level of nerd knowledge that I have sometimes at these places. But that's a rumor going around, and that's the problem. The early morning capacity isn't at full, so they have to ramp up, which means that obviously there's a knock-on effect because everyone rushes to it, causing a backlog then of wait times. It's what I'm so desperate to get back to Universal to kind of get on Hagrid's. And I just found the full name of it. This is the joke now. So it's Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure. That's the full title. But don't forget as well, it is a Harry Potter Wizarding World attraction as well. Like, ridiculous name.
It is, I mean, Harry Potter, it's just insane. It's I think my favourite part is Diagon Alley. I loved Hogsmeade. I thought that, and I read every book as it come out. I mean, I'm a mega Harry Potter fan. So the first time I went, I cried. It was just like, oh my God, I'm here. And I could spend ages. Chris gets a bit annoyed with me and Joe because like I spent ages just outside Grimmauld Place looking at Creature keep opening the curtains. Like, God's sake.
Yeah.
Like, and watching Stan talk on the bus, it was like I am such a mega Harry Potter fan. I just love it. I
definitely think when Universal kind of built Hogsmeade and Hogswart, first of all, in Islands of Adventure, when they first built that experience, I think it elevated the kind of themed environments and immersive environments in kind of theme parks around the world. And I remember it's the first time I've got, and I love Universal. I think Universal's, I've always liked it. It's always been one of my favorite parks in the world type of thing. But I've never gone there and felt that magical kind of like, oh my God, this is something special. This is something amazing. No, never. I've
Oh, I
always
love it.
enjoyed it, and I'm like, this is one of the best theme parks in the world, and I love walking into islands and walking down that, I forgot what it's called, but the bazaar area. And
Yeah.
then I think after that, I'm like, this isn't cool. I don't get kind of like goosebumps. The first time I walked down into Harry Potter for the first time into Hogsmeade, I got that goosebumps feeling I get when I walk in Disney, when I walk down Main Street, or when I walk into kind of Hollywood Studios. That whole, like,
Well,
this is something special. This is something larger than life. They've built something that is a landmark tentpole destination in the world, and I definitely think they've
do you
done
know?
that with the Universal and the Harry Potter world.
But do you know what? What actually, Toontown, for me, definitely.
Really?
I love it because I grew up watching Popeye and being
Yeah.
a little bit older. So I love all that. I Marvel because I'm a mega Marvel fan,
Yeah.
but then Dr. Seuss. I mean, my kids grew up watching Cat in the Hat. So the first time
Yeah.
we went there and it like doing Redfish Bluefish, I mean that's like a little
Yeah.
ride with a fish going round. But
Yeah.
I love the theming. I mean that that's my happy place. I think Dr. Seuss. I love it.
That's the thing. I never knew Dr. Zeus until Universal. I didn't even know it was a
Yeah.
thing. I came
Oh,
across Dr. Zeus or Zeus Land via Zeus Landing theme parks. I had to research into it afterwards. I know Toon Lagoon and I know obviously Betty Boop and I know all those characters, so it's not that. I don't think I had the emotional connection to it. It was like, this is
yeah. Where
cool.
I
This is
have,
definitely
yeah.
an elevated, game changer. But I never had that. Disney was always leaps and bounds, like miles ahead. It was always a no-brainer for me. It was like, I'm going to do, out of a 14-day break that we're very lucky to do in the UK,
Well,
easily 10 will be Disney,
in,
4, if at most, will be Universal, just because
yeah.
Disney's got everything I know and love. But now it's they've got a lot of attractions that I love. And don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, Spider-Man is probably one of
Oh,
my favorite attractions ever.
yeah.
Like,
And Disney
so it's
Spider-Man doesn't touch it. Doesn't touch it. I mean, what's all that about? When we were in Paris near Karen, do all that. It's like, come on, this is not as
I
good as
kind of
Universal.
like it. It's kind of like, I like the agency you have with the fact that you can impact what's happening in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you kind of go to Universal, you do the Spider-Man adventure, and then you kind of then go and do what's it called? I forgot what it's called now. Web
Web
slingers and
Slinger. Yeah. I mean, I love Ratatouille. Ratatouille. Oh, I'm a massive
yeah,
Disney fan, but I
yeah,
just love Universal a little bit more.
yeah.
But look at this. Oh, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I'll put it there.
Oh, press
Listening.
penny.
E.T.
Oh
It's closing. So we were one of
no,
the.
it's just refurbed. It's just
I
been a
thought those
refurb.
when we were there, they said it was shutting.
No, it's just been refreshed and
Oh,
refurbed. They've just done
oh,
yeah.
that's good.
That attraction has a really weird clause. Steven Spielberg will not allow them to change it. They have to keep it there, maintain it, and it's down to some weird, like, almost blackmail deal that he's got with them that they cannot remove ET from Universal Studios. It has to stay
Oh,
there,
that
otherwise other stuff will go.
because that is always I have to do ET every time I go.
Yeah.
It needs updating. It needs
Yeah,
updating.
it has.
So
It's just come out of refurbishment now as part of like the new. Because across from that, they're building like a DreamWorks. The kids' place
yeah,
is getting rethemed to
yeah.
like DreamWorks. So it was part of that whole renovating of that space. They decided to close it to give it a bit of a facelift to make it
That's
a
what
bit
I
more
really
modern.
missed. Actually, this time I missed the Shrek bit where you've got Donkey and talking
Yeah,
to everybody. Because that's
yeah.
brilliant. But then I mean, even in the Universal Park, like the Minions stuff is brilliant.
Did you do it? Because it was again. I went as they were building it. So the
Yeah,
minion
Mad.
layer is it?
There's two, isn't there? Minion Madness, and then there's the one where you're shooting.
The
I
villain
think,
one.
yeah, Villain Con is it? So people have got mixed views about it, but Chris is a mega. I don't even know how it happened. Just I think watching it with the kids growing up,
Yeah,
like he'd always put the Minions on, so they'd be like, oh,
yeah,
Minions again when they were little. So like now it's a joke in our house that Chris is just like mega Minion fan.
yeah.
So we went to do it all, and so it mixed because you're shooting and you're on a conveyor belt going through, so it's like a
Yeah.
game really.
It has had really mixed reviews, hasn't it? Like
Yeah,
some people think it's really good and a lot of fun. Other people are like, you're just stood on a conveyor belt shooting at screens. Like,
yeah,
what's
I
the
loved it.
attraction?
I thought it was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. And what else was it we did that we'd never done before? Was the Mummy, and that was really good.
Mummy's one of my favorite rides ever.
I've never
When
done
that
it before.
ride is working on peak, it's an incredible roller coaster. I love it.
Mad. It was brilliant, and we've never ever done. But maybe because the boys were younger, and
Yeah,
last time we went, Joe wouldn't go on a roller coaster.
probably.
He
Yeah,
did all the little rides because it'd have been
yeah.
8 years ago, so it'd have been 10.
Yeah,
9. So yeah, so he didn't like roller coasters then. And do you know what I love about it? When you go to Disney, and as I say, I love Disney, and I think when your kids are little, it's for our kids, it was like every so many years. I think it was every 6 or 7 years we did it. So they've grown up doing it. But everything is so far apart. So actually, that bit is exhausting as well. I mean, we stayed at Saratoga Springs, which is quite central, but you've still got
yeah,
to get where we stayed at Universal. It's
yeah,
so easy to get back after the park. You come out, you're in City Walk, so you could the mum and dad can stop and have a drink. The kids can
yeah,
have an ice cream or a slush, and then you just get your boat or you walk back to your resort. It's all very easy. You can get
yeah,
back in time to have a couple of hours by the pool. One day we just sunbathed in the morning and then went to City Walk in the afternoon and had a meal. So I
yeah.
love that everything is so accessible and so easy, and you can nip in and out. It's for me, I find it easier, and
Well,
for the little
that's
kids, there will be more.
that's what a lot of people are saying. Basically, is why Universal is like gaining traction over Disney now. Is a case of
Mm,
they've kept it simple, even though there's a lot of elements and they're adding more and more to it. It's just simple now. You're not having to buy a multi-pass lightning lane and work out which attractions are included now
yeah,
because they've just changed. Obviously, Disney just changed it again for the third time now.
again,
The lightning lane system, and the fact that you've got a lightning lane fast pass system that you can pay for in advance that cost almost $30, but doesn't give you unlimited access to the attractions. You've got to book 7 days before you
yeah,
go. But if you're from the UK, you can't book it because it's
yeah.
region locked. But you can only book certain attractions from certain tiers. You have to book one tier one and two tier two. Then when you use your first one, more become available. But it's separate from the individual Lightning Lane pass. If you want to ride the latest attractions, you've got to buy another pass on top of that pass to be able to get on those new attractions. And that's before you consider the fact that those attractions don't have open queues. You've got to use the lottery system to get
Mm.
on them. People are saying, like, the fact that that is a full on conversation you have to have about how do you get on an attraction before you look at
Well,
all
it's
the
the
other stuff of
nightmare.
how do you get to a park and how much is this and do I get extra magic hours and all this type of stuff. Plus, then Disney taking away the free transfers. They've taken away kind of luggage delivery, not luggage, but like shopping delivery in the parks. I'm a big Disney fan and I will champion them to the cows come home. I do think it's still worth the money. But the fact that Universal is like, come, enjoy, stay in this hotel, get unlimited access, express pass, that's about as much as you have to think about.
And the Express Pass is easier. So when we went to Disney, because my goddaughter's autistic, she's 30 in 2 years, and she does. I mean, she can't queue. She's, high end of the spectrum. I mean, she'll never leave home. She'll stay with her mum and dad forever. She's not just like that some people milk it. She's not. So we had the DAS pass, and that was like having the old fast pass, having the
Yeah,
DAS, because you have to do it on your app. You could only have one booked at one time, and it was easy, and it was how Disney used to be.
yeah,
But when we were looking at the queues, it was horrendous. Some of the queues
yeah,
in Disney were phenomenal. Now we decided, and then you've got your, like for Tron and for Guardians of the Galaxy, you've got your
yeah,
virtual queue.
yeah,
That's a nightmare
yep.
situation. So
Mm-hmm.
we were going in, so we went on Tron and we never got on it. We'd about to stay later and we were going to another part, but you can't do it to a certain time. And then there's another window that opens. So we did it with Guardians of the Galaxy. We did Animal Kingdom. Thought, right, we'll get to Epcot, get in the queue for that because we're going to stay late. And there was no way we were getting on it. So in the end, we paid and it cost us $60 for
Do you
the
get
three
what
of
I
us to
mean?
go on it.
I
Now, it
think
was
that
worth it, but because we've
I
gone all
think
that
it's
way.
disgusting though, like
Yeah.
particularly when you consider as well that like and I'm not trying to make the class system of those that stay on property, but if you think of people who do stay on property with Disney, they're paying circa £300 per night to stay in a Disney hotel.
Well,
They get access to the parks if they stay in the most deluxe hotel. So to get like the extra magic hours that used to be for everyone in Disney, they're now only on deluxe resort customers. But then to know that you may not be able to get on the newest attraction, despite the fact that you've paid the park entry and you've paid a premium to stay in a Disney hotel, and
which
you're
is
not necessarily
£1,000
guaranteed. You know what I mean?
for a
And
couple
you're
of
not
nights.
guaranteed to get on the newest attraction unless you are
No.
lucky enough to do the 7 a.m. or 1 p.m. lottery. And if you don't get them, you've got to pay cash. You cannot just choose to wait for 2, 3 hours in line. You have to either be lucky or pay cash. And I think
We did the 1 p.m. lottery, and then we were like ridiculous place in the queue. So
it's not
Teresa,
good.
I mean, we're both mega Guardians of the Galaxy fan, but that was the one thing she wanted to do, and it
Yeah,
was. We're glad we did it. It was worth it. You could see Chris was like looking at me like, "Are we really spending this on going on one
yeah,
ride?"
yeah.
And I'm glad we did it. But yeah, I'm sure it was $60.
Yeah, it's about. I'm pretty sure it's like 15 per person. So probably if you've got
Yeah,
a group of you, and
yeah,
like again, I do think Disney's wonderful, and you can have the most amazing
yeah,
holiday at Disney. But I think this is a worrying trajectory for the Disney company to be going in, where they're adding, and like you said, that antagonization basically of you're having a potential kind of rift in your holiday between your family of have we done the right thing. And the fact that you're
yeah,
having that kind of like awkwardness of like, oh yeah, well we have to do it because when are we going to do it again? I don't think that's a good grounding for a good family
no,
vacation. I think Disney need to be very, and I sound just like I'm not a Disney fan. They just need to be
no.
very, very careful of the direction they're taking the parks in by doing all
And the
these
thing
extra things.
is, we could afford that, but what if there's a family that have just that saved every penny to
Yep,
go,
yep,
and their kids really and honestly, I mean, I know you're jealous. I went on it. It is an insane ride. It's
yeah,
amazing, but
yeah,
it's just I don't know. And Universal, obviously, there is the same issue. You've got to buy the lightning pass if you're.
yeah,
I mean, our hotel it wasn't included, but we did get it,
yeah,
and we were lucky to work with Universal. But you'd still have to buy it. But the difference is that there's no faffing. You walk to the lightning lane, you go into the front. And I think the
yeah,
biggest queue we had was 10 minutes. And some of the
yeah,
queues were longer. But I think because of the way it all works and because they just seem to do it better. It's like Royal Caribbean. Universal are like Royal Caribbean. They manage people
yes,
well.
yeah. I think there's two things on there as well, because the thing is the fact you have the option though. So like you were saying about Hagrid's, you chose to not wait in line, but you had that choice.
Yeah,
If you wanted to get on Hagrid's, you
yeah,
could have waited the 2-3 hours in line.
yeah,
You have no choice with Disney. You either pay or get lucky. You
mm,
have no choice. There is no
yeah,
walk up line for their latest
no,
attractions. I think that's wrong. But then, as you say, and this is
yeah,
the tenuous link between kind of why we're talking about Universal, but we do think, and we've said it so many times, but Universal Orlando is a theme park resort. If you want to do kind of a 2-3 night break in the Universal resort and then tack on a 3 to 5 night cruise, they're a fantastic pair for each other because they do a lot of similarities. There's a lot of like similars with the way they do food, the brands around the fooding.
mm,
They're a great pair for each other to kind of do a back-to-back, kind of land holiday with
yeah.
Universal Orlando and then go off and do a Royal Caribbean cruise. Just briefly, because we want to talk about Epic Universe as well, but briefly, how easy was it for you to get from Universal Orlando to the cruise terminal, and how did you do that?
We got Uber. For me, I will never book anything again. Uber's so
Really?
easy.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think it was $120.
yeah,
I think to Port Canaveral,
yeah.
which I didn't think that was that bad. I mean, the transfers were
No,
that, so we just got up in the morning. We
I
had to have
same.
two separate Uber XLs because obviously we had the luggage. Got up. It might have even been 90. I can't really remember off the top of my head. They weren't extortionate.
No,
And we got up in the morning, didn't have to pre-book it. One guy was trying to get us to pre-book it, but I think he quoted us $300 for all of us. He had like a
oh,
super.
okay.
He was outside the airport when we got out, and obviously we had a horrendous flight, delayed
Yeah,
ridiculously.
yeah.
And just actually on that, if you ever do get delayed, check compensation. Anybody that's listening, because if you get delayed over so many hours, just Google flight compensation, because we got a lot of money back from our
Did
delay.
you? Good, yeah.
Like 1,800 we got back.
Did you get that back from the airline, or did you do that by your insurance?
No, that was from BA.
Okay, because
So
it's
we
all
got
kicking off, isn't it, with the P&O Malif Airlines case. That's what they're all kicking off with, is nobody will pay out basically for the delay on that flight. So I just wondered who paid out.
well, I think because it was operational and not because
Yeah,
there's certain reasons they don't have to, aren't there? But this was operational.
yeah,
They basically just cancelled a flight and bumped us all onto flights all over the place. And we got there 8 hours later, so we
yeah,
got the maximum compensation. But just we wouldn't have known about it. One of my pals is
yeah,
cabin crew, so she messaged me and said, right, you need to do this.
yeah.
But because B&O, who's B&O?
B&O.
BA left us high and dry. I mean, I always fly BA, but they left us high and dry
Yeah,
on this occasion. It was a bit of a nightmare. So so when we come out and we were all just exhausted, there was this man with this bigger than an XXL thing and took us all. We just got in and paid it. We were just exhausted.
yeah,
So he said he'd do $300 for both families of all cases. So we did it less than that. So it must have been 100,
yeah.
120. We did it less. It's easy to do. Everything's so easy. in America.
Yeah.
But one day, Joe was obsessed with going to Walmart to go and see the guns because they're all into clay pigeon shooting, not but they're into that. So he wanted to go. But we went and again, easy, get an Uber.
Yeah.
It's just you just don't need a car.
No. I don't recommend, we don't book transfers for our customers anymore. Like, you can either book the Mia's shuttle bus, so there is a Mia's, which is the same service as what Disney Express used to be, but you can get the Mia's coach. I think it's like $15 per person off the top of my head, $15 per person. I haven't booked it for a while. But there is that service, so you can get a coach transfer if you wanted to. But yeah, I now recommend most of my customers just get an Uber or get a local taxi because they're quite reasonably priced.
Universal have, what is it called, Superstar or something? I can't remember. There's a name. It's a something name like that. Reminded me it was like a bit Virgin-y, the name. And they have their own shuttle that you pay for, Universal.
Okay.
That you can book. But
I've not
for us, when there's so many of you, it's just cheaper to get an Uber.
Yeah, definitely. I would highly recommend it. We now pretty much just say book local taxis and Ubers because our transfers, we can book them, but they are always going to be more expensive because they're pre-booked. So you're pre-booking somebody to do it. So definitely just get a local Uber. I think Lyft is still a thing in America, but it's harder for UK residents to sign up to. But we can get the app, so you can use Lyft as well. But Uber works all around the world, and it's all charged in your local currency then as well. Obviously, the fares occurred in dollars, but you're paying in pounds type of thing. So it's really convenient. The
price is guaranteed because it's on your app. Where when we got a taxi in Miami, that was double the price of the Uber our friends got. So beware of that.
And I will say as well, like, I'm not a big advocate of Uber. I think there's problems with Uber as a company, but I will always use them. So it's a double-edged sword. But if ever I've had a problem with an Uber driver, Uber customer service have been great. They've always been really, really good type of thing. I've had one where they were trying to say they were picking me up and they were nowhere to be found. They were in a totally different area. So I then they charged me for it because it was a failed fare. And I just messaged showing where I was and where he was, the other driver, and they gave me a credit back for that. And they were like, yeah, sure, no worries, okay, fine. There was another one, I can't remember the other issue I had. It was like minor, but again, I think he took a really long, convoluted route, and we were like, we think he was trying to inflate the fare. And Uber were like, yeah, sure, no worries, we'll refund you half the fare back then, not a problem. They're really good on that front as well if you've got any customer service things, and that's the benefit of it, because you can track the driver, you know who's picked you up, and they want to keep working with Uber as well. So you've got a lot more accountability for their drivers than I think you may have with some of the local
definitely
taxi companies. So I know, guys, we've talked about kind of Orlando in the past, but I do think it's such an important and integral part of kind of that cruise conversation, because obviously Orlando, Florida, kind of the whole Florida region is such a big cruise departure port as well for going off and kind of exploring the Caribbean and beyond. And I think especially for kind of Americans maybe who want to do a short theme park break with a short cruise, or for Brits maybe who want to do that longer break. You've done Universal, you've done kind of Disney so many times before, and you're looking for something new. It is a fantastic opportunity for you to kind of, get that Disney fix, that Universal fix, and then maybe try something new, like a Disney cruise or Royal Caribbean cruise, or maybe even one of the more traditional cruise lines like Princess or Celebrity, or one of those people as well. Like, there's so many options. I think it's a fantastic way to kind of mix up an Orlando holiday if you've done it time and time again. Now, what we've just decided to do, we were going to kind of do one big episode where we talked about Epic Universe and kind of what's coming for that. But we just love talking about Universal. But we've just decided we're going to split it into two. So you lucky guys get more episodes about Universal from myself and Sarah.
We should just do Disney Universal.
I say we should just change the podcast, shouldn't we? Just be like, hi, we just like talking about Orlando and Florida. But before we do, so what we're going to do, we're going to wrap this episode up, and then we are going to do another episode talking about all the exciting things coming to Epic Universe. And again, it probably will touch on a lot of the same themes about kind of how exciting Universal is and how a great opportunity it is moving forward. But before we do that, Sarah, is there anything else you want to add to kind of that episode about Universal and pairing it with the cruise, perhaps?
No, I've got... Well, no, yes.
Many thoughts, all the thoughts.
No, I'll drop a link in because I've got, obviously, talking about our cruise on Mariner of the Sea. So, but over on Mini Travelers, I've also got our itinerary and how I booked the whole holiday to fit with our plans and how we did it. So I'll drop that below as well. Yeah. And the only thing I would say is that, had we booked a package holiday, we wouldn't have had the grief we had with the flights. So you can book it separately, but not always the easy option.
Well, if the guys want to hunt down all that content, obviously you're going to link some of your Mariner trip reports. And obviously, yes, we do have that podcast episode as well. So when Sarah was live on Mariner of the Seas as well. So hunt that down. If you're not going to wait around and wait for the Epic Universe, maybe go back and listen to that episode. But where can the guys find your content online if they do want to hunt down any of your kind of your ship tours or any of your guides or the trips you've done so far?
So anything to do with cruise, cruisingwithkids.co.uk, and anything for the Disney and Universal content, that will be on Mini Travelers.
Brilliant, great. And if you guys are interested in booking a kind of land and sea package or visiting Universal Orlando, I definitely would love to help you out. You can find me anywhere online under magical-traveler.com, or all my social media is magical_TRVLR. Other than that, guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, please definitely do leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Amazon Podcasts. We seem to be getting views on all the podcast apps, which is lovely to hear. But we'd like to hear if you're enjoying this, and if you could leave us a review, that would be amazing. And if you're watching the video version of this, you've had some extra pictures to look at, and please do give us a like and a subscribe as well. It definitely helps YouTube know you're enjoying this. Other than that, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye!
Bye!